Hello, Tim. Thank you for joining this session. We already know that this session is mainly for the people who are looking for new opportunities, new jobs, and like lots of us, like is still working and trying to pursue the next position. So I hope this will help everyone. This session will give us the more details information how we can go through. This is a ongoing session. We have got two guests in this panel. One is our Tawhid, Mr. Tawhid, and another one is Junaid. So we normally what we do, like we normally give our introduction, what we do. So if I request Tawhid Bhai to step in and start the panel and give himself the introduction, like where he works and what kind of like responsibilities, and then if he carry on about this session and proceed. Thank you, Tawhid Bhai. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. So I am Tawhid Rahman. I work for a company called Hilton and work as a tax advisor. I'm the manager for the whole firm. I deal with personal tax, corporation tax, inheritance tax, trust, and apart from everything apart from VAT, basically. And I'm part CTA qualified, so I'm working on qualifying, hopefully this year. So hopefully that's it. And basically, I work with creative clients, film industry clients, fashion designers, and those sort of things.
Yes. So our general question was about the interview, like at the beginning, how to what is the procedure to apply and which agencies or like direct or indirect, and then if you put some lights on what to expect from those interviews, and at the end, like how to get prepared for those interviews. Thanks.
What I have found to be the best approach, because you have the option to apply directly, you have the option to go through a recruitment agent. What I have found to be the most effective is through a recruitment agent, because once you speak with that recruitment agent, the recruitment agents normally have kind of like a very good network and a good connection personally with the interviewers. So if you get in touch with a good recruitment agent and the recruitment agent likes you, then they will work on getting you the right role. I have personally found this to be the most effective. Apart from like applying directly, you can get a response directly, but the chances are less likely to happen if you have a better personal connection. Break it down in three segments. Let's say what we need to do before the interview, what we do during the interview, and what we have to do after the interview, isn't it?
Yeah.
So before the interview, first thing we need to do is to very carefully and do a very detailed analysis of the job description. That is very important. Do a detailed analysis of the job description. Do a detailed analysis of the company you are going to interview in or apply in. Understand what kind of clients they have, what kind of industry they work in. For example, if they have a lot of like construction industry clients, then you have to write those things down. So, sorry, let me do that. Okay. Yeah. So the first thing to do is to do a very good research on the job description, how you fit into that role, the company you're interviewing, and the clients they have, and what kind of services they provide. This is going to be the starting point in applying for a role or before the interview, what you need to do. And you also need to understand what kind of questions they ask, which I'm going to briefly touch on in the next section, which is what we do during the interview. So moving on to during the interview phase, when they ask, first of all, about me questions, So they say, please introduce yourself, and what you do. So just say, tell me about yourself. So what they want to understand is whether we fit in the job role that they are expecting to fill. If this in the about me section, you fulfill, basically you touch on all the points they want to know, then all like they are convinced. If on the other hand they are not convinced with the about me comments, or when you say things like yourself, then they will go on and ask about specific questions they want to know, and which are, as I previously said, how you meet the qualification criteria for that job role, how you meet the experience requirement for that job, what level of experience you have, how you meet the client experience requirements, because the industry specific experience is required in few jobs. So how you meet those requirements, and they are going to ask you specific questions about those points. They also, if the company's motto, for example, is to provide kind of like an exceptional client service, and basically they just want to provide excellent service, they will ask you for to share an experience you had where you've demonstrated a very good, like, provision of a very good service to a client above and beyond the scope of your work, and you have to share that with the interviewer. Details on how you meet the criterias, for example, the qualifications, experience, and the job role and stuff like that, we can discuss further if you have any specific questions. But because of the short timeline, I'm not going to go in details. So if the interviewer is satisfied with your answer and understands that you meet the job description and what role they want to fill in, then the next step is basically to wait for the physical interview, the face-to-face interview, where they judge your personal appearance, whether you are professional, you have the composure to deal with the clients. If this is particularly important when you have a client-facing role. So the physical interview has a different structure from the phone interview. And if you already had a phone interview, the next step is not to assess your knowledge or qualification. The next step is to understand how you are going to work and how you fit in as a person in that firm. So just go in a bit early for the interview, 5 minutes early, 10 minutes early, that's fine. Just sit in, wait for them, just to give them the impression that you are going to be punctual in your job. That gives them that impression. You maintain a good professional attire, and that is also going to give them that impression that you are going to maintain yourself professionally. Have a polite attitude. So basically all interpersonal skills has to be maintained. You have a cup of tea with them. For British people, it's very important that you have a cup of tea. So have a cup of tea, chit chat. Before they ask you the questions, you ask them how they are, what kind of qualifications they have. Feel free to just get things going. So because you need to also break the ice, so they say. So break the ice, just ask them how they are, what kind of experience they have, what kind of role they play in the organization. So you have a more personal kind of, like, you go ahead with a very positive kind of note. So once you've gone through those things, then they just ask you very specific questions, like if they have any technical kind of questions. A lot of companies do not ask that many technical questions, to be honest with you. But if they ask technical questions, and if they are not convinced that your experiences match with theirs completely, then they will ask ask about specific questions. If the role is accounting related or tax related, they start, the very common questions are relating to payroll or relating to depreciation, relating to like like a an experience where you've had a complex kind of advice to provide, something like that. So there you are. So all the questions answered. The interview, you've just demonstrated what they want. Your interpersonal skills are there. After you have finished your face-to-face interview, you just have to wait a bit. Normally, I do not expect people like interviewers to wait, keep candidates waiting for more than a week. So the turnaround is usually very quick. That is based on my experience, at least. Um, yeah. So when you wait, you don't stop yourself. You apply for more jobs in case, as a backup, in case that doesn't work out. So now, if you have any specific questions, uh, I welcome.
Thank you, Tahir bhai. I think our other panelist, Mr. Chunrai, uh, probably he was with us at the beginning, but now probably there's some technical failure, so that's why he's not with us right now. So uh, if I may, if I ask you some like general questions, I hope like it will help our other members
Yeah,
in here.
please.
Yes. So you said like at the beginning, like when to apply, you should go through the agencies. So do you recommend any agencies that you use personally? Do you have any general recommendation?
I will go for like you when I wanted to get a job, I basically did not care whether it was a small recruitment agent or a big recruitment agent. I went for everyone. I gave my CV, handed over my CV to everyone. And what recruitment agents, oh, we need to bear in mind that for big firms, they have kind of like, if you approach them personally, then you cannot approach through a recruitment agent in the next a year or so. So they have that kind of policy. You need to bear in mind about that. So if you try to reach the big firm by yourself, then the recruitment agents would not be able to help. I've faced that personally. And then, so one of the recruitment agents, I've basically, during my job search, I've gone through Hayes, Goodman Masons, all of those. And also, when I applied online, I came across a few other smaller, small scale recruitment agents, and I built up like a personal kind of touch with that recruitment agent. So that recruitment agent was like, I was not only speaking with him on a personal like professional basis, but I was also speaking with him on a personal basis about how his wife was and stuff like that. And it was like it built up that kind of a personal kind of a connection. And he was working for me just to get me a job, because he knows how like what kind of connection we have. It's just like a brother to brother favor. So we need to build a good relationship with that recruitment agent,
Sure.
bearing in mind the recruitment agents often have a very good connection with managers or the interviewers directly, which you wouldn't otherwise have. If you are able to basically get a very good hand or a very good communication with the recruitment agent, they will just make magics happen.
Yes, that's really helpful. And in this case scenario, I would also like to add, like, because most of us are working somewhere, sometimes like a state agent, they call in the working hour. So it is all right if you like just pick up or cut the line and call you back in your lunch time, or like evening, or send a text that, I will call you back. So that will not, otherwise they will think that, you are not interested, or so always please get them like, call them back, or like send a normal text that, okay, I will call you back. That's like customized text already there. So please do that one. And the next
Mhm.
thing I will ask you, like, sometimes we apply lots of places and we forgot, we can't trace where did we apply. So when we get a call back from some companies, and they said, okay, why did you join our company? And we think, okay, which company we're talking. So I think it is okay, because they also know that we're not applying in one company. So if we get like confused, like I think it is okay to ask them, like, okay, sorry, I have applied lots of places. Do you mind to tell me where you're calling from? So what do you think in that case? Like, get clear. Otherwise, like, put yourself in the like in the dark. Yeah, if you can share that bit, little bit.
I don't think it's a good it's a good kind of situation to be in, because I was previously doing like a random kind of job, uh, what called applications, and then when the interviewers called me up and said that your application has been successful and we want to proceed with your application, and I was like, I've got no clue. That really gives a very negative impression, because people now, the like accounting firms, do not just want an employee, just don't want a robot to work for them, uh, who has knowledge. They want the people who are coming in to have genuine interest in that role, genuine interest in their company, because like they want to have kind of like the people who want to be part of that company. They want to have a connection with that company, who knows about the company, not just people who are randomly applying for jobs. That's not a good position to be in. So again, I would if for example, if you apply through recruitment agents, you do not have that kind of situation. You always know. If you apply like personally, then I would say you maintain an Excel spreadsheet. I personally apply when I was applying for a lot of jobs randomly. I was still maintaining a spreadsheet. So when they called me, I just pull up my spreadsheet and I know which one. So when they say the name of the company or the agent, I just put that down there.
Yeah, another point could be like, just to pick up the call and go on with them, and after that, check that number, phone number, Google it, which company. I think that also helps. Yeah, because
Sometimes.
yeah, it helps also, yes. And there is some generic questions, like when they do the phone interview, like, uh, do you have kind of like, did you face these kind of questions, like same kind of like typical generic questions they ask everyone, or did you find like, okay, sometimes it's challenging, sometimes you need time to think, or you got yourself prepared for this kind of questions, like a kind of like a random question, like where you to see yourself after 5 years, and what is your weakness, what is your strength? Uh, did you have any experience?
Funny thing is, when I started uh, going for interviews, I was clueless, and I was so bad at interviews. Later, one of the interviewers almost like insulted me, and it was like saying, "You're not prepared. You don't have a clue of what you're doing here." At that time, I just uh, started to understand why what does it mean to get prepared, because I personally faced a lot of bad situations. So so one of the recruitment agent told me that when you actually go, like, have an interview, when you plan for it, you you make sure that you understand what you're doing. You think and plan ahead, as if you are actually not an employee, you are the recruiter. You think yourself to be in the recruiter's shoe, and think from their perspective, what do they want? And you then list out all the questions you are going to ask that candidate. So if I apply for a tax manager position in, for example, KPMG, then I would imagine that I am that director of tax of KPMG, and I will list down all the key points that I want to know for myself from that guy. So I will list those. I will prepare an answer for all of those points, and then that basically puts me in a head position to tackle any kind of questions. As a general kind of template, in the phone interviews or the first interviews, they ask about me, they ask about the qualification, experience. They also about they talk about the strengths, as you mentioned, what kind of things you think you're strong in, what kind of things you think you're weak in. This is also important because they want to know, like, this is a tricky kind of question. When they say what's your weakness, when they used to ask me what your weakness is, I usually just say something which actually compliments me. I just say that my weakness is that I care a bit too much about that client, and I just go on and spend a bit more time just to make sure everything is perfect. But that is not a very commercial thing to do. But that is my weakness. But I want to learn from that. So even if I share my weakness, you do not actually just go on and just say your weaknesses. You just say something which is just to compliment in the background.
Yeah, I like to add a little bit with that. Sometimes weakness is like if you tell weakness, but you have to tell as well your backup plan, how you were helping yourself to recover that one, as I told by said. Okay, this is my weakness, but I know I have figured it out and I'm working on it. So I can see also the progress. So that's what they want to hear, that you can't say that I don't have any weakness. Of course, you have to tell something. So if you get prepared by yourself and like write it down, okay, this is my weakness, I'm going to tell this one. And I'm going to also tell them how I gonna recover that bit. And yeah, that's really really helpful. And one more question about uh, when you go for physical, like like if they ask you, okay, you have succeeded, can you please come in? And when they ask about your how you're gonna deal, because you know that okay, this company, of course you research that company, and you know that that is a small or medium companies, they have got like 20 clients, sorry, 20 employees. So and they use this software because at the criteria and requirement they say we use this software. How wise is it to manipulate some like or like add or like minus some answer, like okay, customize some answers that some people they didn't use that software but they like to they want to get the job, so they like make something up. So what would be your advice in that case? Like is it good or bad to add something up in that like situations?
I do not think you should lie in the interview too much. You, in my interview, one of the worst interviews I had was with an English firm, and they were asking me about a question about PAY, how to treat this in accounts and stuff like that. It was like a long time ago, and I didn't have any answers to that. I just didn't know. And the interviewer was saying that, oh, you are typical, you just have passed all the exams but you don't know uh, the answer to this question. And I just said to him that although I do not know the answer now, you give me 2 hours and I'm going to find it out. So it's not the end of the world to not know something. You just have to show them that you have the drive to learn, and you can learn. If you have, for example, learned, you know how to use Sage, of course you can know, like you can adapt very quickly on any other payroll softwares available. So it's not the end of the world. You don't have to lie to them. Just say that you can do it. So even if you do not have, I would say you look into the internet, what kind of software they have or something like that, if that's possible at all. um, if you can't find anything, if you don't have any idea, you just have to share with them the most similar kind of software you've used. For an accounting software, if you have used Iris, then just share with them that you have used Iris. And at the end of the day, it's all accounting softwares are the same. All the payroll softwares are almost the same. It's just like finding out the options, and that is not going to be the the end game. That's not the end of the world. So you can find everything out. You just have to share with them.
Yes, that's really, really helpful. I think that is a really valid point that, this is not like, winning the interview. If you get the interview, we need to work there as well. So if we say something that we don't know, either we have to catch up that very quickly, or it is always better to share that what you know and what you don't know. Because yeah, like Daud Bhai, that was really, really some embarrassing interview as well from my side. And I didn't have any idea what to like. I was eager to get the job, and I said, okay, I know this thing. I use that one. So when because they know when they take the interview, they are sitting in front of you and they are calm down. They are not under pressure. You are under pressure. We are under
Yeah,
pressure. So they can see from your body languages. And if they want to go deeper, okay, if you say, okay, I did a CIS, and then they will ask some silly questions that, okay. Also, did you feel like, did you face that problem? That will be like a conversation. That will not be a like question. They will go in a conversation. Okay, you said you do the payroll. So how did you do the P11D? When did you submit? Because we are facing the problem. So it's kind of like tricky. And then
yeah,
you will understand, okay, oh my God, what I've done. And as David said, like software, nowadays, most of the software is like kind of similar. So it is not a crime to not know all the software. You can say, okay, I have heard about QuickBook. I didn't get the chance to work on that, but I have a knowledge on Zero. So I can, and I'm a quick learner as well. So that will give you the impression that you want this one, you are eager to learn. So it is not like that, okay, I don't know, I don't want to this job, I will leave. Because if they like you, they will say, okay, like for example, it happened with me. I said, okay, I had the knowledge, but I don't have the practical experiences. They said, okay, don't worry, we will send you for a course. So it depends. Like if you are eager to get the job, show them that you are eager in different way, not like telling lie. What do you
yeah.
think about that one, David?
Uh, yeah. So basically, what do I say next?
I'll say like because you say like you also had some embarrassing situations, and because at the beginning we are always like we don't know what we're going through, but after some interviews we know that what we can do and what we can tell, what we can't tell. So at first,
Yeah,
as you were saying, okay, the role we should apply, or we should know how depth knowledge we have got for that role. Can we cope with that role or not? If we think, okay, we are capable of that one, and this is kind of things I don't know, and I can cover that up. So how smartly can you cover that things? How smartly you can say that, okay, I have a short knowledge of that one, but I'm eager to learn and I'm a team player. So what kind of like positive words you can use in that scenarios? What kind of like positive impression you can show? Like you are not needy, but you want to join the company. You want to get the job in a like a positive attitude, a positive body languages. How far you can go?
so when you have a question from the interviewer and you have no clue what this is, and you don't know for sure what this is, and we are in a very difficult situation, we are very stressed out in that interview, we don't know. Sometimes stress can play in this a big part, that because of stress you don't know, you can highlight to them or you don't have to. um, I would recommend always to take your time, to take your time, understand their question, listen to their question. If you have any questions, uh, further, if you have any further questions on that, ask them the follow-up questions. Sometimes they are not interested in knowing the exact answer, but they just want to see, if you are in a situation where you don't know something, how you are going to react to that. So they are going to put forward this question. Even if you can't answer, you have to still maintain your professionalism, and you have to say, okay, so tell me a bit more about this. If is it like, if for example they ask you whether a director of a company is going to qualify for EIS tax relief, and you just know basic about what the EIS tax relief is, and you know other other points about EIS. You just say, you know that if there is a material ownership, it's not going to be effective. And you just ask other points about whether that director has any other material interest in that business, or whether that director has any other kind of like um, capital prevention strategies, something like that. I'm not going too technical now. I just want to demonstrate that when you have a difficult question, you do not know the answer completely, you ask some relevant questions just to give them the impression that you're trying, and you take your time, you try to understand, you make up your mind. If you can't do it, then you say, uh, you don't just rush into the decision. Just say that I'm not being able to, but I just have to check, I just have to review this point because this is a bit rustic, something like that. So it's not completely like I'm not getting this now, but that doesn't mean that I wouldn't be able to get it. If I'm making this clear.
Yeah, thanks also. Yeah, I think that will be helpful for our members as well. This meeting's time is expiring in 7 minutes, so I will try to make it short. And after this time passes, then I will send the link again, and that will be our question answer session.
Great,
My
thank you.
question for this time is like at the end of the interview, they normally ask, "Do you have any questions?" What do you recommend our members that we should ask at the time? Because normally what happens at the beginning, like very beginning of our interview, I'll say, no, thanks, I'm fine. But then I realized that is not a good approach, because that shows that you are not interested about them. You don't want to know about them. So what would be your recommended questions in this point?
When I asked the interviewers the question. So when I went to an interview for, what's that company's name, Deloitte, and in that there was like two directors, two tax directors, and the first approach I had was that so this is I just wanted to get an understanding of what their roles are. I did my research though. I did my research in like beforehand, because when you have an interview, they also mention the interviewer's name. But so I just looked into LinkedIn, saw their experiences and stuff like that. I've Googled their names, just tried to find out a bit more. So when I went to that interview, I was like, so you're the tax manager or corporate tax manager, like personal tax manager or corporate tax manager in this firm. How do you think the firm is? How did the firm work for you? How long did you work here? So when I asked them that, how long have you worked here for? They know what you're trying to do. They just, you are trying to understand what your kind of prospects are in the firm. So how did you join the firm? How long have you worked for the firm? What kind of, like, how do you like the firm? And how did the firm support you in your progress? You can also ask questions like, would the firm be able to basically, how would the firm react if I wanted to go into further education? How is the study support like? Just things like that. So you just, but I was a bit too much. When I went for the interview, I just said to the interviewer that you're CTA qualified, I know you're corporation tax manager. You wanted to do this exam, but that didn't work out. And I was like, and she was like, wow, you have really done a big research on me. But it was just, I was just saying to her that why, I was just trying to understand why she hasn't been able to do something like that. And because she was here for 5 years, what her progress was like. So basically I ask questions to be personal, and just to understand how your prospects are if you join the firm, and what their management skills are. So some managers treat their employees in a different way. Some managers like to work in a very casual kind of way. So you can also ask them how casual or how formal you are expecting us to be.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Survey. I also found this is really like positive things. Like when you ask them like positive questions, especially like what is the training procedures, is there any in-house training or not, so they can see that you don't want to get stuck with that position, you want to go further, because that's what
Yeah,
also give them the positive things, that you want to add value to the company. So they also like like to yeah, they also answer like, okay, yes, of course we have the in-house training, or we send for other outside training, all these things. So please try to. My suggestion would be like, not suggestion, like I want to share like uh, 2 or 3 companies. My interview was not good, but at the very end, when I showed this kind of like interest for them, like for what are they doing for their employees, how they're like train their employees, then they showed interest on me as well. They said, okay, these guys like is not going to sit there and do their duties and go home. It's not like that. They want to learn something to deliver for our company. So that is a good thing. Do you agree? Probably you agree with me as well, Jose.
of course, yes.
This
So
is our
what I was
one
saying, basically,
thing.
I was just genuinely appreciating you guys because I was losing hope, you know, because I was thinking after that worst interview, maybe I have to face this sort of technical beats again and again. But what I see, actually, not every interviewer will ask, or every company will go that details, actually. So I don't need to prepare like an exam. I'm preparing for an exam right now. We don't have time for that. I'm a family guy. I have wife, children, and the other commitment as well. But only if whatever you have covers from that, I can say, if I manage to invest another 30 or 40 minutes, just to going through everything, that should be fine. I believe. So I'm getting inspired now. So thank you for this, guys, especially Tawhid Bhai and Pallab Bhai. You know.
Thank you, Bhaiya.
Yeah, but
So,
that was worst interview. I
was
shared everything with Pallab Bhai. He never, no, nothing. He did ask me, just paper, go to that room, you have to finish off.
it's not usual. It's not
Yeah,
usual.
yeah. Even Pallab Bhai said this is something unusual.
Yeah.
But
So
some
people who just straight away just hands you over questionnaires to fill up, these kind of companies do not actually care too much. They just want the knowledge to be there.
Yeah,
They don't want
yeah.
they don't need anything else. They don't need like employees to have a personal kind of touch with the company. They don't want company values to be shared. These kind of companies, the first question would be whether you want to work for this kind of companies
Yeah,
who
no,
do
no.
not care about
Obviously,
anything
yeah. Obviously, I was not aware, and how details they go. Now I was just laughing at myself. He was picking up a thing like out of scope BAT and exam BAT. This was, this detail he went through. How
But
you
that's
gonna.
nice. But that's nice. That's nice to have this kind of questionnaire, but not very strict. That is very
That
strict.
that is obviously nice, but you don't like, for instance, uh, many companies we work for in East London base, we sometimes, like the other day I was telling Pallab Bhai, many of our predecessors, they deal with the tips as a zero. They were dealing in the VAT return as zero rated. Even Pallab Bhai was not aware of that, but it's just normal. No, you don't expect someone, okay, to be on top of everything. Do you understand? So it's just,
Hmm.
you can be there could slip out a little bit with this. Even I had I had a conversation with my director. He was not aware about this as well. So I had to download the article about it from HMRC and showed him. Then he believed me, and then I highlighted. I think I also posted in the group as well. Maybe I don't know, because whether it's helping anybody else's. So this sort of things, you can, this is not something you don't find, you don't be able to solve it. You understand what I mean? You can solve it, this sort of problem. This was one of the nerve-wracking interview though. But this was lasted only 30 minutes. But my other interview, the director came to me and he said, because of the coronavirus, they hold the post for the time being. Otherwise, they were happy. They gave me a feedback on everything, basically, that were Doncaster, not one. That was good as well. But there was about 2 hours interview. I was just the director himself and me. He was going with everything literally. And then later we found out the university he has achieved his master's, same university I have achieved my master's degree. And he eventually said, this is the only reason I called you to see, someone after a long time from the same university. But I had a really good experience from that. But I was losing hope after that interview, nerve-wracking one. I thought, no, how can I, prepare everything like, on top of everything. And he was separating like corporation tax, what do you have to know? And then VAT, what do you have to know? POIE, what do you have to know? In generally, what do you have to know? Basically, then I got that, the sheet he gave me. I say that 80% was correct. Only that 10% with IFRS. Oh, there's one other thing as well. One new introduction of, what was it, Apollo Bhai? There's something he was telling about IFRS 104 and linked to 2015 changes. How many people will read that detail? Anyway, that was the, there were some changes, IFRS, very detailed changes. I cannot remember at all anything. And he was, but about this, he was saying, no, I was just asking to see where people stand. But anyway, thank you very much. Really, really appreciate a lot. I'm getting, my hope back and inspiration back, guys. Thank you so much, Apollo Bhai and Tawheed Bhai. It's really helped me a lot. I think, I can, start applying freshly again.
Tawheed Bhai, you are mute. Okay. So just a little bit in this scope, like, like the more you attend the interviews, you will see different companies got different approaches, and you also can understand, like you will also get the experience at, okay, what kind of like company they are, like as Tawheed was saying, are you willing to work for that company? Like sometimes, as I shared with lots of us also experienced that one, like sometimes they offer us and we said, no, I'm not interested, because after the interview and after the environment, you understand that it is a good like the company for you to join or not. So that is also like you also please remember that one. If you keep carry on, if you keep applying, you will get a job. But please don't take the first one. Think before you accept the situation. Think before you accept the offer. Because if you get stuck there, and if like normally you can't live in 2 years. That is a kind of like industry norm. That if you live before 2 years, like in your CV, they will think, okay, you are not a reliable person. You just jump from here to there. So before you accept an interview, please talk with your friends, family, and think twice. Is this the company you want to work for next 2 years or 3 years or even whole your life? So that will be a very important point. What do you say, Tawheed?
Thank you very much, Bhai.
Yes, Fatih, what should I say next? So we've covered pretty much everything, apart from any other questions which is specific to any other requirements people have.
I think Talashbet, you had a question. Okay, Talashbet's question was, like, if they ask, like, what was your achievement, or what is your achievement in your previous role or current role? What kind of answer?
Faisal bhai, I had an interview and I have been asked a question which is really unusual, which is I have been asked, have you had argument with your director any time in your employment? I said, what do you mean? He said, no, I mean, in your present job, have you had any argument with your partner or director in any time? I said, yes. Then I have been asked, how did you deal it? That's the technical question.
Yeah,
The second is the tricky one. The how do you deal the conflict management in your firm, with
if I
especially with the seniors?
if I may, Tawil bhai, like that is a tricky question. That's what they do. Like they try to like psychoanalyze you. What is your temper? How can you manage juniors? How can you deal with your seniors? So yeah, that is also we are. Please think by yourself. Like if that kind of question that comes, because I also face that kind of question. And please try to use some adjective. I found it very helpful. Like yes, we had a constructive argument and that was about one tax issue. So try to make a like a background. If you become abrupt, they will think, okay, what is that? They will be like, ask what is that next step. So try to like put some scenarios in that case. Like one my experience is said like did you have any issues like with your seniors, and how did you deal with? Like same as you. So I made a story and then I tried to put that story as things. Okay, that was a mutual understanding because they want to see that if you have a problem with your colleague, did you go to the senior to deal with that one, or you try to do like man to man? So that is also like represent your character, like what kind of person you are. Are you a suit for the like team or not? So what you said, sorry, Brian.
Yeah, as you said correctly. So now the response should not be disrespectful. So the tricky bit here is whether you actually disrespect that partner because you had an argument, which you don't. You always need to have an argument. We need to have a constructive argument. Even the partner I have in my current firm, he complains that I have too less arguments with him because he wants someone, like he insists that a person in your position needs to argue or needs to ask questions, because you just don't follow. You just don't have to follow whatever the partner says. You have to have your own opinion, and we always have this right to share our opinion about a particular accounting treatment, particular tax treatment. So this is completely usual. This is a norm. And when you actually explain this, you have to demonstrate that this is the norm. This is not a disrespectful thing to have. And basically how you went on having this solution, and you gave him time, listened to him, what his opinion was, you put forward your opinion, and even if you had an argument, it was not a bad one, as in it was not a dirty one. It's a very organized kind of argument, and you lay on this kind of option for them, that if in the future, basically you have to demonstrate, if in the future they have an argument, they know that you are not going to basically just say things for the sake of saying, but this is a constructive kind of argument.
So the way I hope you got your kind of like answer. So any of our members got any like generic questions or any Shuman bhai, do you have? Please.
Hello, Tawhid Bhai. Basically, my question is, I was working in an accountancy firm that is English based. But recently, last almost 1 year, I'm not working with any accountancy firm because I was struggling to pass my last two papers of ACCA. So I stopped working with the accounting practice because I realized it's not worth it, like to be stuck with ACCA and then failing all the time. So what I have done, what I have decided, I know it's not correct approach to stop working with the accounting practice, but I have decided that I want to finish my CCA, and then because I got my family and then job, and to pass it, that was big challenging actually for me. Obviously, I was working with the English company, as I said. That's a good strength I have in my bag as experience, and now I have a big problem now because I don't have a, what do you say, practice with any job. So how will I land up with a accountancy firm job right now, or interviews? Let's say, you can please tell me something about this.
Shuman bhai, it's not a good practice to just like not work for a moment, because they treat it as a negative point. They take it as a negative point that you've stopped working for a while. That's a gap. That's a gap. There is a gap in your employment. If you have a gap in your employment, even if you have like you had a lot of experiences, because you have a gap in learning. If we have a gap, for example, in education, then we are rustic. We don't have that kind of discipline. Now we have again the same kind of gap in employment. We are not up to scratch with our employment kind of uh, thing. So I would say you should get back to employment. If you do not, if you think it's difficult for you to complete your ACCA exam, then you can speak with your line manager.
No, I have qualified now.
Oh,
No,
you
I have
this all
qualified
done.
now. The
Okay,
good
cool.
thing is, yeah. I have qualified now, but now the challenge is how do I land myself into any good job, like let's say English firm or European firm, except the local Bangladeshi firms. Actually, I don't prefer to go this kind of firm actually.
Of course
So
not.
what would be the steps or measures? What should be my measures actually, like at this stage? Because I'm not working at the moment, but I have been working in a good firm, like let's say with English clients. So I know you can say almost like good software like QuickBooks, Sage, and I've been working with different industry clients, let's say construction industry, for example. So I have a good grasp of this accounting basics. Obviously, I have to learn a lot still. I have to develop my skills still further. But what would be my strategy? What should be my strategy at this moment to
Shuman bhai.
get a job into the right?
Yeah, Shuman bhai.
Yeah.
I would suggest you speak with recruitment agents starting now. So you speak with the recruitment agents and explain to them why you have this gap. You have to make them clear that the gap is because you wanted to complete your ACCA. Now, if you apply in person, you do not have the chance to explain this. But if you're applying through a recruitment agent, the recruitment agent explains to them. They just do not forward your CV. They also have this opportunity. They talk over the phone with the interviewers. So they call them up. They say, this is the CV of an individual. There is a gap of 6 months in their employment, but that gap is because he wanted to get through his ACCA. So again, you have to speak with the recruitment agent and explain clearly, and that should be your strategy. So explain them clearly, and then when you start your work, you need to be positive again.
That's
When you
great.
have an interview, get in touch, man. You have my personal number. You can get in touch.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So one more thing actually. So in the CV, what title should I write just below my name? It should be like assistant accountant, accounts assistant, or maybe semi-senior accountant. What should be my title actually? This is a bit confusing.
Why do you have a title in your CV, man?
Do I need to write a title first of all?
No, you
I
don't.
don't write anything actually.
Yeah, you don't need
anything.
to. You just write your job experiences, what title there was in your previous job experience. Just write those. So your CV
Yeah.
do not have to have your job title. Job title is depending on that the new company.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mike.
One question from Talas Bhai. I think there's some problem with the internet. His question was like they ask what, as I asked before, like what was your achievement, or what is your achievement in the the current job? What would be the answer? So Talas Bhai asked me and Talas Bhai. So I will ask Talas Bhai to go first.
What my achievements were in my previous firm, you mean? So yeah, I had that question quite a lot. When they ask you what kind of what did you achieve in your previous role, you of course start by saying that I've learned a lot from the previous employer. You always be complimentary. You don't degrade your previous employer. You always say that I've learned this, I've learned that. In my previous job, I achieved obviously some experience, but I personally, what I shared is that I helped the organization to grow by networking with more clients, by preparing or organizing their filing structure. So previously, in my previous employment, they did not have a very thorough filing structure or an organized way of keeping records, and I helped them to basically have a better record keeping structure, better like an electronic version of their record keeping. So previously they used to have physical receipt. I just asked them to do scanned, encrypted, and store it in a like a hard drive. Then the filing process, what documents we need to keep for each and every client in the file. So these any kind of questions from interview, we should look into that as an opportunity to share what we did. So whenever they say, what did you achieve? You just say something like along the lines of what kind of things you did to that other company, which helped the company to grow and helped yourself to achieve, like to grow in as a professional, and also the company as a professional services company.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Dr. And always try to give the practical examples, because if we try to make something up, we need to practice before, otherwise we'll get stuck. Because if they ask the second question, what kind of filing structure they had, and if you try to make it like a story, of course somebody will get stuck. So try to put yourself, I would recommend because I tried that one at the beginning. When they asked this question, I was blank, but then I realized, okay, I need to get an answer. And then I put myself in the situation. And the one thing could be if you are working a senior role, that okay, deadline. As long as I was with the previous company or current company, I always fulfill my company's deadline. There was no penalty fees or something. And then further, you can go ahead. That after that, our target was to submit the accounts before 2 or 3 months, and we achieved that one. Second thing could be we create a personal relationship with the directors. We became friends. Whatever problem they had, they used to call me. So they will think, okay, he is not only figures oriented person. He has got personal character as well. If you're a senior role or practice manager role or something, that role, they want to see your personal skill as well. So you can role wise, you can put that things you did. So not a numerical person, you are a team member, you are a social person. So you can add those things. Sometimes they could be asked what is your passion, what you like to do. Then get normal, because they want to make you normal. They want to make us as human beings, not like an accountant only. They want to figure that, but they want a team member as well. So I hope Numan Bhai and Nana Bhai, we also face this kind of question. So I would say, as Tawid Bhai said, we need to get prepared before we go there. If you write it down, if I was interviewer, what kind of question I would ask. If I put that one and if I try to give answer, it's not like that. I wake up in the morning and I'm going to the interview. It's not like that. If you want to get the job, if I want to get the job, I need a week preparation. When you get better, when you give 10 interviews, then probably you don't need 1 week. But before that, I would say 2-3 days minimum to get prepared for the interview. Any more question, please? Or okay. I like to ask by one thing, the last thing, after the interview, sometimes it is a good courtesy, it is a good manner that you send them an email saying, okay, that was nice to meet with you, and I like that one, so I'm looking forward. So I think this is a courtesy, but it is not necessary. What do you think, Solveig?
Yeah, well, by you can do that. Of course, it's not mandatory, but you can do that. It puts you in a better position. they see you as a more responsible person. That's it.
Tawhid bhai, basically, you say to speak to the recruitment agents, people. So, do you want me to apply the vacancy job? I mean, so the job actually, the advertisement actually into their websites, or you want me to call them? I don't know how. What are you asking actually? What should be the steps to just drop CVs, all the advertisement they have into your website, and then when they come back to you, then you speak to them, or you saying you need to speak to them? How should it be? Can you make it clear, please?
Call them up, Goodman Masons or any recruitment agent you want, or you go to 3 or 4, but you choose one recruitment agent. If you have if you want tax jobs, then go to this tax assistant or something like that. But you just call them up in their office, just say that you want to have a meeting with them. So you discuss about there when you have a meeting appointment fixed up, you speak with the recruitment agent. When you speak with him, then you communicate what you want, what your experience is, and what kind of jobs you're looking for. So that should be the approach we need to take, not just randomly do that. Or yeah, exactly. If otherwise, if you have a job advert online, find find out the number. Sometimes the recruitment advisor's number is there. Call them up and speak with them directly. Make an appointment. And when you do actually make an appointment, go there, but just say, I want to know about this, but it's not everything. So, but I'm open to more jobs.
Okay, you're telling me to actually have a good communication with them, make a good relationship of understanding each other, and explain my situation to them.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes there are some advertisement in the Gumtree as well. Actually, some companies, what happens? They also advertise in the Gumtree. Some accounting firm practice actually, they advertise in the Gumtree. How do you think about this one? Is it more effective or no?
Sometimes even like recruitment agents from companies work, but they work with smaller companies. With smaller companies, it's easier to get in. For bigger companies, it might be a bit difficult. I had one recruitment agent who came to my house. So we had a cup of tea in my house. So that guy was dealing with smaller companies.
Okay.
So if there's people, if there are recruitment agents who have very who can do anything, and who's gonna make an effort, I would say go to recruitment agents who is passionate about you. Not just any recruitment agent. Don't go to Reed and just go for a recruiter, appoint a recruiter who's not going to work for you, but who's going to just look into his own pocket. Meet someone.
You recommended the Hayes, isn't it?
No, Goodman Masons. I work with Goodman Masons, but even then, that is for bigger firms, bigger companies.
Okay.
But it's not the name. It's not the name of the company you need to look for. It's the recruiter. So speak with few recruitment agents and assess yourself who is more passionate about you.
Okay.
So if you see someone is speaking with you nicely, politely, is trying to understand what your situation is, and is trying to relate to your situation, is trying to advise you on how you need to progress, go for that recruitment agent. Don't go for the company, just go for the recruitment agent, because each and every agent is separate.
Let us
brilliant.
Let us finish this conversation here. Probably we are overrunning. Thank you, Toys Bhai. Thank you, everyone. Hope we will catch up soon. I'm going to stop the recording now.